are only 2 races remaining in this amazing 2021 Formula One season. So we're going to look at these final 2 races. I'm going to kind of guess what's going to happen. Guess, predict, whatever you want to call it. I'm still new to this thing. I could be completely wrong, but this is just based off what I've read, what I've heard, what I've seen talked about. And I'm going to give you my thoughts. We're going to look at the tracks, look at the races, and of course, the thing that this whole video is about, the championship for Formula One. We have the Drivers' Championship between Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and then, of course, we have the Constructors' Battle in the championship still going on with Red Bull and Mercedes. Now, the current points update. Verstappen leads Hamilton in the driver standings. It is currently 351.5 to 343.5. Of course, those half points coming from that race at Belgium, thanks to the rain and all that stuff. But the constructor standings are: Mercedes has a 5-point lead with, 546.5 points. And then Red Bull has 541.5 points. So very much a close battle as well there. But they can both be clinched this weekend at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, a new track, a street circuit. It's a brand new track. We'll talk about it here in a minute. But first, let's look at the championship clinching scenarios in the Drivers' Championship. If Max Verstappen wins the race, sets the fastest lap, and Lewis Hamilton finishes 6th or lower, Max Verstappen will be the world champion. If Verstappen wins without either of the drivers getting the fastest lap, it would be Hamilton 7th or lower. If Max Verstappen finishes 2nd in the lap and has the fastest lap of the race, and Hamilton finishes 10th or lower, he clinches. If Verstappen finishes 2nd and Hamilton does not finish in the points, the championship will be over in favor of Verstappen. Hamilton cannot clinch the title in any way, shape, or form. The only thing he can do is close the gap. He could take the lead as well in the championship, but the way it's been going these past couple of weeks, if I were to predict, well, I guess we'll get to that. But that is the clinching scenarios for the Drivers' Championship. As for the Constructors, I don't know what the actual clinching scenario is. I'm guessing that like Mercedes 1-2 and Red Bull doesn't score, that would clinch it for him. I don't know. That's my best guess. But anyways, yes, let's look at this first race coming up this Sunday. Couple practices on Friday. Saturday, we got a practice and a qualifying. And, of course, Sunday will be the race at Saudi Arabia. So let's talk about it. Saudi Arabia, a brand new track. Still being worked on, maybe. I don't know if they've actually finished the track yet. They've been working really hard on it, very long, and it's been difficult, but they're still planning on racing there this week. But I think it's still under construction. Hopefully they have it done for practices by Friday. Anyways, here are some interesting facts about the new track in Formula One. It is 6.175 kilometers long, which I Googled it, and that comes out to about 3.8 miles. It's got 27 turns. 27. I think that's the most turns in one track in Formula One. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Speeds will top as high as 322 kilometers an hour and is the only slower than Monza, the Temple of Speed, in terms of racetracks that Formula One has visited this year. So a very fast racetrack, at least that is what is predicted right now. Obviously, no one's ever been on the track, but according to simulations, I'm sure they might have done some tests. Have they? I don't even know if a car's been on that surface, a race car at least, but it is expected to be a very fast racetrack. There are 3,000 pieces of concrete wall, 37,000 tons of asphalt that have been put down. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, then a bunch of other stuff that, if you wanted to look it up, you could go for it, but everything else is just kind of random. Anyways, this new track has nothing. It doesn't have nothing, but there's no notes on it. No one's been there before. No one's actually put a car on the racetrack. No one's run a fastest lap before. No one's won the pole there. No one's won a race there. No one knows what the tires are going to wear like. No one knows, how long can you go on a certain tire. No one knows what the top speeds are going to be. They can predict it, I'm sure, in the simulator and stuff, and they can do some calculations. They can kind of predict what the track times might be, what the tire wear might be. But the fact of the matter is, Formula One's never been here. The Formula One race cars have never been on this track. The Pirelli tires have never been on this racetrack. So we're clueless. Everyone's clueless. Not everyone is completely clueless, but us fans, for the most part, we're clueless. That's not necessarily a bad thing to be clueless, but we really don't know what is going to happen in this race. We could predict, which is what I'm about to do, what we're going to do. We could talk about it. We can guess. But if I had to say, I'd say this is a Mercedes-favored track. Now, this year, the street circuits have been heavily dominated, really, I guess that's the word, by Red Bull. Max Verstappen won the Monaco Grand Prix back in May. Hamilton struggled, finished 7th in that race. Bottas had a DNF. And then in Azerbaijan, Verstappen was actually leading that race before having a tire blow and crashing, but his teammate Sergio Perez ended up winning that race. So Red Bull on the street circuits this year have done pretty good. I don't know if I'm missing any street circuits. I think those have been the only two we've had this year, street circuits. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Red Bull's looked really strong on the street circuits. But this doesn't look like your Azerbaijan, your Monaco per se. This is a much faster track. As I said, the second fastest track on the schedule this year, or at least that is what is predicted, behind Monza. And Mercedes, from what I've read, from what I've heard, from videos I've watched, explain the technicalities of Formula One and the Formula One race cars and the differences between team cars, is that Mercedes is better with the straight line speed. The speed, and especially with what Toto Wolff said after last week's race, which is they're going to bring the spicy engine back, which of course is the engine that Lewis Hamilton used at Brazil, and he made 2 major comebacks to win that race. But yes, they will be using that engine, and I think that plays the advantage to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. I think that, with the straight line speed that they've had, with this new spicy engine, this brand new engine that's only been used once, I think that's going to play an advantage for Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. Maybe, I don't know about Bottas. Bottas, it'll be interesting to see how he does. But in terms of the constructors' fight, Hamilton and Verstappen have been going 1-2. It seems like all season, when they don't crash each other, when they don't have a tire blow, when they don't have an off week. It seems like they've been 1-2 almost every single week. And then it comes down to Perez and Bottas, and that one's really been a back and forth. We saw Bottas with a pretty poor start to the season. Then we saw him get a few podiums in a row. We saw him start to get consistent results. But the past few weeks have really been Perez. Perez has been much better than Bottas. You look at Mexico, Bottas, who was on the pole, he spun on the opening corner. He was hit by Daniel Ricciardo, and he finished outside of the points. Then they went to Brazil, and he did get a podium there. But then the next week at Qatar, he DNF'd. He had a tire blow, and, they were out of the points, and, it basically ruined their day, and they ended up DNFing, so that ruined their day, whereas in those same races, you look at Perez, he had a podium in Mexico, finished 4th in Brazil, finished 4th in Qatar, so he's been much more consistent, getting more points than Bottas has, and that has been crucial for this Constructors' Championship, and that is why Red Bull is still in this fight, because Perez has been more consistent, scoring more points than Bottas in these last 3 to 4 races. Anyways, so as for the top 2, I think for the driver's perspective, I think Verstappen and Hamilton, once again, no notes on this race. I really don't know what to expect for this race. I wouldn't be shocked if Verstappen went out there and beat Hamilton. I wouldn't be shocked if Hamilton went out there and beat Verstappen, but my prediction is I think Lewis Hamilton wins the race. I think Verstappen gets second, so I think we go to Abu Dhabi with a 1-point gap, or we go in tied, depending on who gets the fastest lap. But I don't expect Hamilton to get the fastest lap. If Perez is 4th or 3rd, I think they keep him there for the constructor's sake, but I do think that Red Bull would send in an AlphaTauri to potentially steal that fastest lap from the Mercedes driver of Lewis Hamilton. So I expect it to be a 1-point gap going into Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Let's talk about it. Formula One has been going to this track since 2009. It is a fairly new racetrack. Costs a lot of money to build that racetrack, and it is an expensive looking racetrack, But it is not your normal Abu Dhabi race. There have been some reconfigurements done to this racetrack. They have made a couple of massive changes to this track. It used to be a chicane at the end of turn 4. After turn 4, you'd go into a chicane for 5, 6, and 7. Well, with the new track, there is no longer a chicane there. They have completely removed it. It is just going to be this little, what do you want to call it, a hairpin, I guess. So there you go. It's just going to be a hairpin now, and then on to the back stretch into 8 and 9. And then the second major change is that they are removing that kind of chicane area from 11, 12, and 13, and they are going to make that a looping left-hander back into the whatever you want to call that section. So once again, looking at this map, I'm sure I'm showing you pictures, but they've removed the chicane at 5, 6, and 7, and they have made a looping kind of hairpin-ish left-handed turn, and that will be your turn 5. And then later down the track, instead of doing just a chicane down there at the far end, it will be a long left-handed turn into kind of the 10, 11, 12 section as you go into Sector 3. Now, what do I expect in that race? That race, you look at history and Mercedes. Mercedes has won, 5, 6 races at Abu Dhabi. They had won ever since, I think they've won every race, except for last year. They had won every single race ever since, they started winning championships. So 2014 to 2019, I think they had won every single race. I got to confirm that real quick, and let's see here. Yep, Mercedes, 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 Mercedes. So yes, Mercedes, ever since they figured it out, ever since the, turbo hybrid era, they've figured out Abu Dhabi. They have dominated Abu Dhabi. They have won. Rosberg, Hamilton, Bottas have all won at Abu Dhabi. But who's the most recent winner at Abu Dhabi, you may ask? It's not Mercedes. It's not Lewis Hamilton. It's not Valtteri Bottas. And yes, of course, it's not Nico Rosberg. It's Max Verstappen and Red Bull. They won this race last year. They led every single lap of this race last year. So that's got to make you think. Can they show up? Can they beat Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, the track that they have really dominated over the past 7 years? Can they do it? Can they win at this track for the second consecutive year to not only win the race or to beat Mercedes in this race, but to win the Formula One World Championship? Well, great question you may ask. Here's my thoughts. So, I don't know how big of a difference the track is going to make. With these new changes, I don't think it'll make too big of a difference. I mean, obviously the driving and stuff, it could make it a better race, but the majority of the track is pretty much the same. You still got a long straightaway. You still got a couple chicanes in there. The front stretch, the third sector is pretty much the same. So I don't expect it to be too chaotically different per se, but it still could make things a little bit more interesting, which is always fun. Now, here's the thing. I'm a big believer in momentum. And right now, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, they have a ton of momentum. But look at this. This is my first full season of watching Formula One. And I've been reading articles. I've been listening to fans online. And I feel like everything has been opposite of what they said. They said that the U.S. Grand Prix, COTA, that's a Mercedes track. They're going to dominate that race. You know what happened? Max Verstappen got on pole and he won that race. So, wrong there. We went to Mexico and they said, oh, Mexico, that's a Red Bull track. They will dominate everything that weekend. Mercedes front row lockout. Now, of course, Red Bull did go on to win the race, so they were right there. But the Mercedes front row lockout, I was like, where did that come from? Then going to Brazil, everyone's like, oh yeah, Red Bull track all the way. They're going to win this race. Mercedes won. Not only did Mercedes win, Lewis Hamilton came from the back and the mid-pack to win that race. Like, it was shocking. And it wasn't shocking. He's still Lewis Hamilton. But, it was like, you would have thought it's a Red Bull track. Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton are starting 10th. You'd think that, Max Verstappen can get it done. Apparently not. Then we go to the new track, and, it was straight line speed there. A lot of high-speed corners there. And people were saying Lewis was the favorite, and he won that race. But Max put up a good fight at the end. Or he put up enough of a fight to keep the title battle close. So, but still, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes have all the momentum in the world. They've won 2 straight races. They've been qualifying on pole a lot recently. They've had the speed. I mean, it's hard to bet against them, especially if you look at their track record, not just this year, but in the history books. Hamilton is a 7-time champion. He is going for the 8th championship. That would be the most of all time in Formula One by a single driver. He would beat Michael Schumacher's record. And Mercedes is looking for what? Their 8th Constructors' Championship. And the last person to beat Lewis Hamilton head-to-head was in a Mercedes, Nico Rosberg. I'm pulling for Max Verstappen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like a huge Max Verstappen fan per se. I like both the drivers. I really do. I think they both seem like pretty chill guys, and obviously extremely talented race car drivers. But it would be so cool to see Max win his first. But it's an 8-point gap right now. Saudi Arabia. If Lewis Hamilton wins that, I think he would be the overwhelming favorite for this championship going into Abu Dhabi. And Abu Dhabi has been a Mercedes track. They have dominated this racetrack. I know this is going to end up all being wrong. I'm going to look like a dummy, but I want Max to win. But if you ask me today, what is today? November 29th? I think, okay, you're not going to tell me. As of today, November 29th, 2021, my prediction is Lewis Hamilton wins the last 2 races and wins the championship. Max Verstappen, in my opinion, has been the better driver this year. Red Bull has been slightly better on the team aspect, but Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes are going to find a way. It just feels like that. Going into Brazil, I was thinking Max Verstappen and Red Bull, they're about to win this thing. Everyone's saying it's a Red Bull track. They're going to find a way to win. And then they didn't. And I was like, well, Mercedes looking kind of hot right now. They could very well go and win this. They go and win Qatar. And, man, they are looking very strong right now. Looking very good right now. And it is very difficult to bet against them, especially considering their recent history, their recent success. It's extremely hard to bet against that team. And, so for the driver's side, I'm going to pick Lewis Hamilton. I think as of today, I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton. However, I'm going to pick Red Bull for the constructors as of today. Bottas has been really good. Don't get me wrong. I think he is an overhated driver. I think he's an underappreciated driver. But Perez has been much better, much more consistent recently. And I think he continues that consistency in these next couple of races. As long as he puts together good, clean qualifying runs, as long as he doesn't do what he did in Qatar, I think he should be fine. He should get a podium or he should get 4th these next couple of races. Bottas, I really like Bottas, but he's been a little bit too inconsistent for me, I think if they can avoid trouble, I think Red Bull wins the constructors, Hamilton wins the drivers. But once again, it could come down to crashing. I don't want to see it in that way, but the fact of the matter is that these two, Hamilton and Verstappen, have had their run-ins all season long. They have been pushing it to the absolute limit and sometimes over the limit. I don't want to see it in that way. It very possibly could, but assuming that everything goes cleanly, those are my predictions for 2 races to go as of today, November 29th, 2021. But yes, that is my prediction. I think that's the first time I made a prediction video for Formula One, so woohoo. But yes, I'm looking forward to Saudi Arabia this weekend. Hopefully it should be a fun race. Hopefully it's something different, new track. Hopefully, I don't know. But, hopefully this championship doesn't end up being a stinker. Hopefully it doesn't end in some controversial way. I really just want to see the best driver, best team win. But Max has been so good all season long. Just some bad luck in a couple of races, at Hungary, Azerbaijan, Silverstone, whatever it may be. And then, you look at Lewis, and he's had his share of bad luck as well. With Monza, Monaco, whatever it may be. But, it's going to be a really fun title battle. But I'm looking forward to it, so hopefully it's good. Thanks for watching this. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your night, great rest of your morning, wherever you are watching from. And, I'll see you in the next video.